Fine. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and today we are joined by two of some of my favorites. Can't have everyone be my favorite, but two of my favorites, VCTV guests that we have here in the family. Shh, don't tell anyone else. But nonetheless, we're going to be talking about business inclusion and investing, also around fundraising. What does it take? What does it look like? How to get started into investing, how we welcome more people into investing, but also how we help more fundraise as well. If you have a business idea or a business company, a product, a service, et cetera, how do we bring these two areas to more people and more people to them as well? But before we begin, real quick, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment box. We'll do our best to ask them in real time. Make sure you check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for being awesome and wonderful, wonderful help and making sure that VCTV happens every single day. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and introduce my co-host today, Mr. Gary Fowler. You were first to join, so I will give you the first honors. Little intro, little background.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it and look forward to the session today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I built 17 companies. I was on the original management team of Click Software, sold to Salesforce a little less than 2 years ago for $1.35 billion. Also, I'm the co-founder of Eva.ai, one of the top AI HR tech companies on the planet. And I love artificial intelligence and quantum computing. My studio, my venture studio that I co-founded is GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studio, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley. And we work with companies all over the world using Silicon Valley support for liquidity events, to raise money, for acquisition, whatever, to make them successful. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And it's Friday, so get shit done. It's Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It's fun when you're the host and the speakers. You can swear on television. It's great. Nicole, since you're the second and last to join today,
favorite.
you get and favorite. Let's be honest. And favorite. You get.
Wait a minute.
No. That's what I said in the introduction. You missed it, Gary. You get an extra 60 seconds in your intro, and you get to tell us everything, including you have, I believe, a new website. You had a Forbes article. You had some stuff happen. So drop out on us, Nicole. It's Nicole minutes. Everyone, it's Nicole's time. Go for it.
Thank you, Kyle. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. Also, favorite Gary. I wear a number of different hats, as many of you know, figuratively and literally. And one of my hats is my marketing consulting firm. It's called Outfront Solutions. And we're working with people and brands to define and position their brands. We are doing go-to-market strategies and a lot of international expansion. So that's a lot of fun. And yes, we just refreshed our website. So that's always fun to get out there into the world. But what also happened in the last week, in 2 weeks actually, is the fact that my other hat that I wear, How Women Invest, I am a fund advisor and LP for that fund. And we have successfully closed our fund. Hooray! So that feels really good. And with the closing of the fund, we announced our first 2 investments. So just a tiny bit about the fund. How Women Invest invests in that 2%. And the 2% I'm speaking of is the female-founded and female-led companies that are sorely underfunded, underrepresented out there in the venture world. And so that's our area of focus. And we have invested in 2 companies. One is called Gray Matter Analytics, and they're in the health tech arena and providing AI for healthcare providers and payers. And we also invested in Hitch, or Hitch.works, and they are a future of work company. So that's been super exciting to get that out into the world. And last week, indeed, Kyle, we had a wonderful article in Forbes about the How Women Invest Fund. And it wasn't it was really all about by Jerry Spangler, who's an amazing writer, and it was all about how women invest differently, how we invest, in community, and a few really amazing data points about that, about the money that's left on the table by not investing in women. So it was a lot of fun, and it's good and just visibility. So
Awesome.
yeah.
There you go. Congratulations, Nicole, and to you and your fellow partners on the fundraise as well. See, Gary, this is what happens. So you just you got to show up at different times next time, and maybe I'll give you the same minutes. But nonetheless, I tease. It's a pleasure to have you both today. And Nicole, I actually want to kick off with you. I mean, you've raised this fund. You've talked about money now being left on the table and these opportunities. Today's topic is all about business inclusion. It's all about investing and fundraising. Talk to us a little bit about maybe how, from your viewpoint and your partners, how women invest differently and why there's money left on the table when there shouldn't be, and what we can do to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, there's this kind of chain effect that happens with women in investing, and that is that when women are partners in venture capital funds, we tend to invest in more female founded companies, right? And then the other chain effect that's very, very significant is the fact that those female founders end up hiring 6 times as many more women than their male counterparts might. And so what that does is it brings a lot of economic uplift to women across the board. And I'm sure you've probably seen and heard of the She Session that's happening right now. And President Biden has called it a national emergency, with the amount of women that have left the workforce. And in 2020, it was 5.3 million. It was an astounding amount due to the needs around the home and childcare and all the things that the pandemic and financial crisis and Black Lives Matter and all these different things impacting us socially. So women have really left the workforce in a significant way. And we think it's really important to continue to bring women to the table to invest. And one of the things that we're doing at How Women Invest is we're educating more women on investing, on doing things like due diligence and what have you, creating a safe environment to come and learn. We have courses on investing, and that will indeed bring more women to the table to invest. That brings also more women to the table as, fund managers and, those roles in venture firms, and thereby investing in those founders who are more likely to hire more women. So that's kind of a nice story in and around inclusion. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Gary, anything to add? And by the way, hi, everybody tuning in as well. We see the comments coming through. So hi. Thank you for joining us from around the world. Gary, anything to add on to Nicole's point? But also, I mean, what you're doing, you have a fund, you have many efforts around GSDV and others as well to focus on inclusion. So anything to add on to Nicole, but also Jedel, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and some of your efforts.
I mean, the thing is, it's not just about female entrepreneurs. It's also about intergenerational teams. So one of the things that we've been working on is really to build teams in really 3 ways. One is centralized teams. 2 is multicultural, cultural diversity. And 3 is intergenerational teams, especially now during the pandemic, because what's important, experience and credibility that can really help the companies move forward. We actually have put a full court press because business inclusion, from our standpoint, is not just limited to gender. It's limited to its also geographic issues. So we work in Nigeria, we work in Rwanda, we work in South Africa. In fact, we have our first female Zulu CEO of a company. And it's important to be able to bring, if you're going to make the world a better place, it's really important to be able to bring people from all over the world together so they can participate. We believe one of the foundations of my company is that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world. but opportunities aren't. And so that's where we are. And in terms of the Impact Fund Atlanta, I've been working with the Black community 14 years. Actually, we are one of the few, actually, I don't know any other venture studio that has a member of the NAACP on their board. And so, and this wasn't because of Black Lives Matter. This is because we've been passionate about it for 14 years. And I met with Kasim Reed. I met the mayor of Atlanta, former mayor of Atlanta. I actually met him when he was mayor, and also discussions afterwards. And then with Lamel McMorris, who's on the board of the Red Cross and NAACP, to be able to make a dent in the universe. And, you know, part of the problem, just so we're all on the same page, it's not about their intellectual capacity isn't there. It's about who your role models are, right? And if your role models are not, tech entrepreneurs, but rather basketball or baseball or football, it's just a challenge. And it's really not limited to geography. It's really limited to what exposure they have. So what we said is similar to what I did in Russia. And in Russia, you know, we were the number one first accelerator in Russia. Well, people said, oh, it can't be done. And why would you want to do this? And so what I did is I set it up with my partner, Lawrence. In the beginning, when we started, we had 3 people in our entrepreneurs club. My largest club that I had within 1 year had over 2,300 people attended, and I did it in a stadium. So I had the inside capacity and outside capacity of that particular auditorium, huge auditorium. So, you know, part of it is getting the word out and what we could do. Part of it is reaching out. You know, it's one thing that there's a lot of people, and then Nicole, I'm sure will agree with me. A lot of people talk BS and don't do anything about it. We take money out of our pocket, and we've helped. And so, of course, it's not about entitlement. So we're on the same page where it's about creating businesses. So if everybody wins and they're profitable businesses, more and more people want to invest. So we do that across geographies. So we've got, Indonesian, Australian, all over Africa. We're deeply, deeply working with folks in Africa. Today I was on with Bangladesh, right? Because there's a vibrant ecosystem there. But we got to reach out. And the one thing about VCTV, what you've done over the last year, and it's highly commendable, is you've been able to reach people that were before unreachable. They've been able to tune in to be part of this incredible family that's been created, to share ideas and thoughts and the positive energy that comes out of it. And I got to tell you, I get the notes every single day. It's inspired them.
Thank you. Team effort. Go ahead, Nicole.
Well, I just wanted to add to Gary's point, and I am 100% in alignment with Gary, that it's so important to speak about cultural diversity, ethnicity, diversity across the board, racial diversity. And I don't know if you saw the Morgan Stanley report called Beyond the VC Funding Gap, but that speaks of, and in that report, they're talking about how women would return $4.4 trillion to the economy, and because of if they were properly invested in. So, and they call the investing in women and multicultural entrepreneurs the $1 trillion blind spot. So, this is really, not reaching all these different entrepreneurs from geography standpoint or wherever they may be is, really we're losing out. We're losing out as a society. And in the report, they also talk about how women and multicultural entrepreneurs are like an emerging market in the US, the same way the internet was 20 years ago or cloud computing was a decade ago. And so, we see this opportunity and we see the ROI that comes with these entrepreneurs, and it's really incredible.
Can I add one point, Kyle? So I
Absolutely.
100%, Nicole, there's one other thing that's underserved, the intergenerational, the folks that have a bit there, because they have the experience and the context to pull it off, especially now with this pandemic. So for instance, on our side, the former chief human resource officer, COO of Walmart is on our board. I mean, to have that kind of connection, one of the top retailers in the world, right? And what I'm saying is we got to reach out. They want to participate. We've got almost 100 advisors that have gray hair involved, but I got to tell you, the things that they can do to be able to help these companies grow is amazing. So on one side of it, and we actually search out one of our companies called Easy. He's a serial entrepreneur. So, and he's got the gray hair, but a lot of his team members are under 30, right? So, and it's a beautiful combination. So you got the cultural diversity, you've got the intergenerational teams. People are talking about these. I started to write about it a year ago, and there wasn't much being written. But I'm telling you today, it's critically important for these startups to look at it, because it's real hard to get funded. Let's say you're a startup from Africa and you're coming over to the US. You want to set an office up, Delaware Corporation, office in the Valley. Nobody knows you.
Yeah.
And trust is the most important thing. You're not going to invest in something you don't trust. Well, if somebody has 2 or 3 or 5 exits, the probability of their winning again is high. Why not bring them in as part of the team? It's like really simple stuff. If you want to if you're going to race a Ferrari, you don't want somebody who just graduated from school, a mechanic. You want somebody who's got some experience winning Formula One as part of an incredible team. Anyhow, my thing is, it's like funny because I'm hearing it more and more. And the more I deal with these startups around the world, the more I see the same kind of problems. So I agree with you in terms of culture. I wrote an article probably a year ago about this. I talked about decentralization, multicultural teams, and intergenerational. And people were saying, "Oh, isn't it?" But it is. It's not like secret sauce. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. That diversity across the board. And I love the multi-generational point, because whenever I see entrepreneurial teams that are overly too much alike, I always ask them to look at the diversity in their team, look at mixing them up, look at bringing in, advisors and people that have had these life experiences, and mix up that cultural, multi-generational mix for the team, and then come back and let's talk. And the good news is that, I'm starting to see that more in the ESG mandates for a lot of the larger corporations. And one of our investments, Hitch, has actually created they call it a talent mobility platform, where what they're doing is they're looking at the skills across an organization, so that they're not just going out of the organization to find a skill set that already exists within. And so they're not, they don't experience the attrition or have ageism or racism or things like that potentially come into play, right? And so they're looking within organizations to match skills and talents and capabilities for specific roles that pop up, which really does, it's an inside job in the end.
But on the top it's coming down, but we got to do it from the bottom up, because these startups, I tell them time and time again, they say, we don't have the connections, we don't have the contacts, we don't know how to do it, we've never done this before. And a lot of times, many of the times they're technology founders. And the situation is, it is the best time, especially, we're not at the end of this pandemic. And I remember, Kyle, like 3 months into it, we said, well, let's not talk about the pandemic, but here we are still, right? And we've got more time. So if you want to go out, I agree 100% and I write about it. The diversity in the group is important. I know from my standpoint, I've had female-led. I've got an MBA from Stanford that leads one of the companies that I co-founded. I've got a Zulu. I'm really proud of her too. We went in and we helped her, right? Financially, made sure that it was the right thing to do to be able to help her come in, because we want to support those kind of efforts. At the same time, you got to grab yourself up and put yourself forward. You get the help, but you got to make it work, right? And it's amazing the kind of things. I remember in Russia, half of my classes, we actually gave scholarships to female entrepreneurs because it was not normal at the time in Russia. And some of the best companies that came out were female-led companies. Of course, on all sides, you got some that were, their parents had a lot of money and they would come in and they didn't really take things seriously, guys and ladies. But it was incredible. They've created incredible companies. But also we had one of the first black female entrepreneurs in Russia, and which is unusual, right?
Yeah,
and it's but you pass it around, give everybody an opportunity. I had older folks that had been 50, 60 years old come into our startup academy, and it was amazing because they had such a wealth of experience to be able to help those other earlier stage entrepreneurs. And once they started to work together, they treat each other equally on the team. It was really interesting.
Yeah. And, it's actually not a challenge to find these, the people of color to invest in, not at all. We've had an incredible pipeline, and deal flow. And the other part of it, I think that's a contributing factor on the positive side, is that the women who have invested in our fund, our LPs, we specifically designed it such that we could have up to 240 LPs in our fund. And that was to give more women this opportunity to invest. And they're predominantly women of color. And our community, really pulled together that way, and therefore our pipeline and deal flow is amazing. And it's also predominantly are very skewed, women of color, which is great. I mean, it's there's no lack of opportunities to invest in these women. Sometimes they just need to really know about your fund, and so therefore we're really doing a focused effort on making sure people know that we exist, that we're investing in these female entrepreneurs, and we're doing things like putting SWAT teams and rallying around these entrepreneurs in a really structured way, such that they have different people in the community that, for example, our portfolio company that's in the future of workspace, they have 5 SWAT team members who really have a depth of experience there. And they can just turn to that team and say, you know what, I need more deal flow on the 5,000 plus, enterprises. And, can you make some introductions? Or I need to focus on a go-to-market strategy in this new market that I'm looking to get into. Can you help with that? And it's really neat to see that all come together and be a force. So it's been a really exciting opportunity, and endeavored to invest in community and support and act in community for these entrepreneurs. And I only see great outcomes. I'm seeing already, a lift, and these deals were just completed at the end of the year last year.
No, that's great. That's great. Have you reached out to Africa at all?
We haven't for this fund. We're taking thoughtful steps. So this is just fund 1, and so it's focused on the United States right now. But it's neat because we have a number of women who have entrepreneurial organizations that are reaching into Africa and supporting a lot of the African women in their entrepreneurial endeavors. But fund 2, we already have a waiting list, which is amazing. So there's no lack of demand for investing in women, which is really wonderful to see. And then fund 2, there's a lot more possibilities. So yeah, we'll probably jump into that a little bit more quickly, just because we do see the demand for investing in women and women of color.
In Nigeria, for instance, called AI Saturdays. and they have female entrepreneurs are in AI Saturdays in Nigeria. So there are places like that. Anyhow, offline, if you want, we're working with a lot of the startup groups and
Yeah. Well, I love it. I made a really thoughtful commitment. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to build businesses for, and alongside of a lot of the tech giants. And I just made a decision to really stand alongside my sisters in a thoughtful way, to, bring them the capital that they need, the, entrepreneurial support, the educational support, and to create a safe place and community where women can gather and, maybe ask the questions that they're not typically as comfortable asking if it's in a room full of or predominantly men. And so they can come and ask the questions and not necessarily, have to know everything about investing and not have to know everything about, you know, whatever it is that they're looking to grow into and pursue.
So this is great. I'm just letting the two of you guys go. I apologize. You guys are having a great conversation, and it's outstanding education for the audience as well. But want to make sure the two of you can connect more offline, and also our viewers can have the chance to connect with you as well. What's a big piece of advice that you have for those entrepreneurs looking to get funding for the first time, or in the reverse, those looking to make investments for the first time that might not have the access to general resources or the typical career path that puts them in those positions? And of course, where can you be found online for them to continue the conversation with you? And Gary, let's kick it off with you.
Yeah, in terms of the startups, I did a TED talk on several years ago. You want to have the passion, optimism, and you want to visualize where you want to go. You need to have a strong team. You need to think out of the box. You need to be flexible and resilient. You need to do customer development. That means you need to validate that what the product or service you have is that something that people want to buy and willing to take money out of their pocket. Read the book, The Startup Owner's Manual by Bob Dorff and Steve Blank. That'll give you some good insights into that. In terms of investors, Warren Buffett said, you got to look away from where everybody else is, and that's what we do. We're looking for opportunities, mining opportunities all over the world. Like I said, Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, Indonesia, Bangladesh, all over the world, because intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities aren't. We're providing that bridge into Silicon Valley to help those companies realize their maximum potential. And it's not easy because you get set. I lived in Russia 14 years, and it wasn't easy first going over there. But, you get used to it, you adapt to the culture, and you move forward. There's incredible opportunities that are untapped. Don't dig gold where everybody else is digging. Go out and look for your own gold mine, and look how you can make a dent in the universe, and everybody wins.
Wonderful. And
Gary Fowler on LinkedIn. You can reach me on Twitter. I have a lot of shows out there that you can take a look at. Yesterday, I actually talked about Africa and doing business in Africa. So you're welcome to tune in. I have a focus on that and Asia right now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Nicole, close us out. A piece of advice, and then also where can you and the fund be found as well?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So piece of advice for entrepreneurs. I was just talking to a couple of really early stage entrepreneurs last night. And one of the things I think is really helpful is just to see how others pitch and present themselves. So what I recommended to them, and what I often will recommend, is a lot of these pitch days or events are free. And so go and attend those. Watch other entrepreneurs tell the story and pitch their businesses. There's always a lot to be learned. Typically, there's a panel of judges that are giving advice on that business and, the directions that they might take, or offering up connections. And so, go and watch a pitch event, get in touch with the panelists and ask them if you could, have 20 minutes of their time and expertise. So that's just a little tip. We're going to start doing our own pitch days for How Women Invest. So people can tune into those and observe and or apply to pitch, and we want to hear it all, and we're bringing on a lot of investors to provide feedback and to be there and witness these businesses. So come and visit us at How Women Invest. There is a Airtable form where you can fill out and see if your business fits our investment criteria. And we'd love to see you. And in terms of just getting in touch with me in general, the best way to do so is on LinkedIn. And then also I'm Techie Cat on Twitter and most other handles.
Wonderful. Nicole, Gary, thank you both very much for sharing these thoughts and insights, but also for doing all that you do for so many around the world, helping them to learn how to invest, get into investing, but also starting companies anywhere they may be, and providing, again, those resources and education you both have accumulated over the years as well. So thank you on that. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe, share the episode. Make sure to check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear more from Gary and Nicole, along with all speakers of the VCTV family. A big thank you to the LATOKEN team and Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, joined by my outstanding co-hosts today, Mr. Gary Fowler and Nicole DeMoe. Please check out both of them on LinkedIn, along with the respected social medias, and you can find us all online 24/7, 365. When you do reach out, please do add context, where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the conversation about. With that, everyone have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back here tomorrow or later next week with more VCTV. Everyone have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kyle.
Bye.
Thank you, VCTV.
Thanks, everybody.
Be well. Thank
Thanks,
you, Gary.
Thanks, Nicole. Bye.
Bye.